And it is with great pleasure to introduce Abul Sharah, our own Rotarian, to present today on the International Village Clinic, English School, as well as his recent trip and work in Guatemala. Dr. Sharah has had his undergraduate education in India, earning a master's degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Tokyo, and a PhD in engineering physics from Carleton University in Canada. He immigrated to the United States in 1972, where he had a 27-year career in executive and management positions at companies including Honeywell, MTS Systems, and Tectonics Research. He took an early retirement in 1999 to establish the International Village Clinic that is providing curative and preventive health care to approximately 250,000 people per year in India. He started the English Medium School in 2018, and he spends about 3 to 6 months every year on the project site himself, pursuing his mission of love and service to the less fortunate in villages of rural India. Abul, would you like to come up and let us know what work you have been doing this past year?
Thank you, Laura, for the kind introduction. I practically know most of the people here. We have known each other for a whole number of years. Oh, sorry. Pull it out. So, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are all okay. I haven't seen you in 3 years now. It sounds like, or feels like at least, a huge amount of time to me. So I'm truly happy to see you all again, healthy and well. You have known my projects for a long time, and you have Bloomington Rotary has supported me since 2002. Every president since then managed to get a grant for us every year. And so I've developed a huge friendship here. And we also got a whole bunch of district and international awards too. That's how we built our programs there. As Laurie mentioned, I had been going to India every year for 4 to 5 months, except for the last 3 years since COVID hit, 2020, 21, and 22. Or I shouldn't count 22 because last year in December, finally, I went back there and stayed for 3 months. And I'm happy to report to you that life was honestly back to normal in India in December when I went. And that reminded me of the cultural difference that we have. Here, I still feel COVID. Since I returned this year, for the 3 years I have been tried to be away. I didn't attend meetings, I didn't go to conferences anywhere, but this year I started trying to go, but I find still hesitance, people getting together. That's not like that in India at all. When I went back in December, it seemed like I was back in 2019. Nothing had changed. Restaurants, businesses, everywhere. It was back to where they were before. And it was really heartwarming, inspiring, and I was very happy to see that happen. I will quickly share with you or refresh your memory of what we have been doing in India. It's practically the same. We don't do anything new now, just continue to do what we have done in the healthcare program. School is the new part. That is really in development, and that's where my time is going now for the last 4 or 5 years. So I'll share with you with the slides what we have been doing and what we are continuing to do. This is the map of India. Our program is located at the far end of the state of Uttar Pradesh, about there. Quickly, as you have heard me saying before, I never gave a presentation, and I don't think I will ever give one without showing this slide. This was my meeting in 1996 with Mother Teresa, and that changed my life. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today had I not met her. I can't describe my meeting to you. I get very emotional because this woman, I'm not a tall person, but she came about this high, but she was bigger than life. Believe me, I felt like that's how I felt standing in front of her, like a little bug. I just cannot describe the feeling and the emotions. This is when we started in 2002. We purchased a piece of land there, almost in the middle of boondocks. As you can see, there was nothing else around. We cleaned it up where we planned to do our construction. Fast forward 4 years later, this is what that place looked like. This is our residential building, because in these villages you can't rent a place for doctors or anyone, so I had to start building apartments. That's our residential building. This is the prevention building where we do our preventative health care. That's the hospital building. I knew from day one we had no power in these villages. In the beginning, in 2001, sometimes we would get power for 2 hours a day, and then it would be gone. And I would ask people, hey, when do you think power will return? Because I had used to NSP here. Now there is no NSP. But if there was power out, immediately everyone was on the phone with NSP. When will it come back? Well, when I would ask them, they would look up. And I kept wondering, why the heck do they look up when I ask when the power will come? Finally, I figured out they were looking up to say only God knows when it will return. And that was true. Sometimes we will be gone for a whole week. And so I knew that I had to go to solar. There was no solar anywhere at that time, in India including here too. There was no solar. It was about 2005 when the first solar panels came to India. And I started installing them. Within 3 years, we had all these solar panels installed there. And since then, the whole facility is run on solar power, yet today. These are the programs that we started and still are continuing. A curative program where we do outpatient service, inpatient, 24/7 emergency, baby delivery, women's health education. But preventative program is the one that was really on my mind, where we provide nutrition, vaccination, health education, and family planning. And I'll show you with slides what these programs are. And I'll go very quickly through them. A curative health program. Some of you, a couple of people have visited our program, Don Stiles, Bob Erickson. They went there back, I think, about 10 years ago, perhaps 11. We have a mobile clinic that goes from village to village. That's part of it, just like you see here. Our mobile clinic standing, all we do is try to find a place with a bunch of trees to provide shade. People line up and we serve them. That's one part. 4 villages we do that way. Then at our hospital, you can see our doctor. They have doctor's offices. For 3 years there was nothing. It was all outdoors. But now we have that. Here you can see we do emergency service. This person's leg was broken and you can see him in the cast there. We build wards there. In the past I showed pictures of how we treated them when we had no wards. There were people sleeping on the floor. We had only 17 by 10 room where in the night you would find half a dozen families sleeping on the floor. But now, 3 years later, that was by 2005, 2006, we had proper wards, proper beds. After delivery, the babies and the mother is transferred to our wards. Now that's about the curative program. In the preventative health care program, that's where our biggest focus has been. And the reason is not just India. Every developing country in the world, whether it's in Asia, Africa, South America, everywhere, there's a huge issue of malnutrition. That's common to them all, especially in women and children, pregnant women in particular. And that just goes on and on and on because there is no cure for malnutrition. It's not that you give a pill and say, okay, you take this and it will be cured. There is no such thing. It's a long-term plan. It doesn't happen easy. So that's where my biggest focus was going to be, and that's where it still is. What we do, we have I call it an integrated preventative health care program, which has 4 components. Nutritional supplements, where we provide to pregnant women and children. Then we have a vaccination program for everyone. Health education, and you will see some slides how we do that. And family planning. From day one, I knew when I was going there in 2001, 2002, people had in their families 5 to 10 children. And I knew that if they kept doing that, there is no way you can help them. There is not enough to eat, much less education and health care. So you had to attack, really, family planning. And with 5 or 10 children, so we started teaching them, giving education, basically. And today, when I go back there, not everyone, but sometimes women come to me and preach to me saying, how can I have more than 3 children? Because otherwise they wouldn't be educated. And believe me, my heart just swells because that is happening in the opposite direction. But it has taken 20 years. To change a culture is not an easy thing to do. So now let me go to the slides. This is how we do prenatal care. Every pregnant woman that we are serving, now we are serving 60 villages. Pregnant women are checked every month. The doctor goes to their homes, checks their blood pressure and all the necessary things. If they need help, further help, they come to our hospital. Otherwise, their weight is taken. This is the nutritional supplement that we provide them. These are either pregnant women or children under 5 years of age. from day one of pregnancy. And the reason we know that they are pregnant in all these 60 villages, every village, when we adopt a village, we hire a woman from that village as our field worker. She goes and visits 10 to 15 women in the pregnancy age, which is 15 years to 55 years of age, one-on-one for 30 minutes. Every month they do that. So we start giving them nutritional supplements from day one of their pregnancy or as soon as we find out. The nutritional supplements include protein, multivitamins, calcium, folic acid, iron, everything that a pregnant woman needs. For 9 months of her pregnancy, for every day they are supposed to take 1 spoonful with milk or water. Once they have delivered, they are still breastfeeding. We provide them the same nutritional supplements until the child starts eating, 6 months to 12 months of age. Once the child starts eating, then we switch that nutrition from the mother to the child and follow for 5 years of that child's life. That's our nutritional supplement program. So that's why you see either they are pregnant themselves or they have children under 5 years of age. We take full statistics, the babies and children up to 5 years of age. Every month they are weighed, their growth charts are plotted. We have computerized everything. This is vaccination. That's how they come to us. We go to their villages every month for vaccinations. Polio we started, that was a big thing in India when in 2002 we started. There were only 7 countries left at that time where they had polio. India was the largest among them. Highest number of polio. Now for the last 5 years, polio has been eradicated in India. So we started from day one going to the villages and doing polio shots. The folks who went there with us, probably Bob, I don't know, yeah, you may remember, they all had the opportunity to give a polio drink because now they're not shots, they're just drinks the babies are given. This is health education in some places where we have no indoor facility. This is how we provide education. That's our doctor. This is health plan, family planning. This is our field worker that I mentioned. She will talk for half an hour, one-on-one, providing them awareness and education on how to manage their family. If they were just married, they will be provided some education on that to ask them to not come up with a child within 9 months, but believe me, it's culture. Again, cultures are very difficult to change. Here is a 16-year-old girl who is married, and there is pressure from both sides of the family, from the mother's side as well as the father's side. Bring a baby in this world within 9 months, if possible less than 9, but not over 9. And this goes on. If the child was a son, is changing, but if it was a son, fine. Otherwise, the pressure is on again. Bring another baby until it's a son. In 20 years, we have managed to a large extent for them to say, hey, no, whether it's a baby girl or a baby boy, it's the same thing, carry on. But it's not easy, folks. This is what we did. I'm showing you 2019. I don't have 2022 yet, but the reason I picked 2019 is that now we are at the same level where we were in 2019. Last year, everything was back to normal. So in 2019 and last year too, we served about 40,000 patients in our curative program where we treat diseases. We had only 21 cases out of that we referred to the city hospitals. Otherwise, we could take care of. I won't go through all that. We delivered 42 babies. In the preventative program, we served 56 villages, 29 kindergarten schools. We also go to kindergarten schools to provide nutritional supplements because there are children under 5 years of age. We supplied 1,700 children throughout the year, every day of the year, with nutritional supplements. Similarly, we provided 371 pregnant women throughout their pregnancy with nutritional supplements and other services. We conducted 672 health education seminars, family planning, and so forth. This is a comparison between 2002 and 2019. In 2002, we served 15 villages in our curative program, about 10,000 people. In 2019, we are serving now over 70 villages, about 40,000 patients. In the preventative program, we started in 2002 with just one village, about 3,000 people. Last year, we served 56 villages, about 200,000 people. So, in summary, currently we are serving over 200,000, close to 250,000 people a year in those programs. We have a staff of 60 people, 3 doctors, and we provide all salaries. They're all salaried people, all medicines for 40,000 patients, all nutritional supplements, vaccinations, everything for less than $150,000. Just think about it, folks. Honestly, you couldn't hire half a doctor here for a year for that money. So that's how far our dollar goes. We have an overhead of 1 to 2%, very small overhead. And of course, I'm devoting the rest of my life, whatever is left in this. Now I'll spend a few minutes on the school program. I won't go into the history of it because I had no plan to start a school. Although people were coming to me from day one saying, start a school, and a girls' school in particular. But I didn't want to. I learned a lot of things from American businesses. And among them, one of them was, don't put your fingers in too many things, otherwise you will never do anything right. And that's why I did not start a school until 15 years, about 5-6 years ago. We did start a school, and there is history behind it. For the lack of time, I won't go into it. But we call it World Class English School. This was a place, and if I showed you this, the picture of what it was before we took over, it was a school, but I just couldn't start in that school. This is a leased building. Another 15 years we have on the lease. We do 3 classes here, that's all. So first I started with this because I didn't know how the school will go on. And so we have the leased place. But then in the 3rd year, when we got to 4 classes, I started building here. This is right, the other place that I showed you before is about 10 minutes walk from our hospital. This is right across from our hospital. This is not a leased place, that's our own land. And we started building there 4 years ago. There are 4 classes now. There are 2 here, 2 upstairs. The first one, this one was built with a grant from Bloomington Rotary. We got a district grant to build that class. And since then, we have been building. Again, we have all solar panels for the school. The whole supply is, although we have public power, but again, it's still unreliable. This is a picture of the first. We now have 2 shifts. We have 152 kids now. This is the new premises, new school, nursery to UKG. We call them in India, it's nursery, lower kindergarten, LKG, and UKG, upper kindergarten. These are the low nursery to UKG kids. So they are, you can see they are young. Then in the other place, we have the class grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3 kids in that least place. So we are running between 2. Hopefully, we will build enough in the new place that we won't need to use the old place anymore after a few years. So that's about that. This is a classroom. You can see one of the classrooms. This was taken last year or the year before, so you can see the kids with their masks still there. We were probably the only organization, clinic, or whatever you may call it, business. We have a staff of 60 people, as I mentioned. Not one person was infected out of those 65 from COVID. And the reason was extremely, extremely simple. No deaths, of course. When I came back here in March 2020, COVID was on. And when I got here, I checked the internet and CDC's guidelines I read. The main guidelines, 2 pages. I translated it in Hindi in their language, got it sent to my managers there, and I said, we had no masks there. In the villages, you couldn't buy masks. So our women, they tailored the masks, and I said, hey, make a copy of this 1-page sheet, provide to everyone that you must wear a mask, social distancing. We marked spaces 6 feet apart at our hospital, and we purchased 2 monitors to monitor people. And from April 2020, we would not allow anyone in without a mask, including our own staff or the patients, and social distancing. Those were the 2 main, and just disinfecting everything. Those were the only 3 things, the basic things that we practiced religiously. And the result was, as you could see, no infections. There were infected people in the villages around us. There were deaths. COVID didn't escape anywhere, nowhere in the world. But we were, you could say, hey, you were lucky. Yes, maybe part of it lucky, but it couldn't be all luck. We worked very, very hard, and that's why you see even kids. This picture was taken last year, 2002, still wearing masks. Okay, now I want to switch gears, and I will share with you, which may surprise you. This is Guatemala. I visited Guatemala last month in July. I had been planning on it for the last 6 years before COVID. I wanted to bring, in a way, I was always interested in working south of us. You know, there's all those countries, they have malnutrition, they have you name it, it's similar to India. In fact, it's worse. So I did some research, this was 6 years ago, on Guatemala. And believe me, I found things that were totally different than India, and then some which were very close to India. To start with the differences, India has a population of 1.4 billion people with a B. Guatemala has 17 million people with an M. So just imagine the difference. A number of cities in India like Delhi, Bombay, they have bigger population than Guatemala. Guatemala has 17 million, Bombay has almost 25 million people. So in a way, there is no comparison. Similarly, technology in India is way ahead. In Guatemala, they produce nothing except coffee. Nothing, they have no export. So technology, no medicine, they don't manufacture any medicine, nothing. This is what I found in my week. I stayed there for a whole week. So in that way, it's totally different. India is way advanced. It's just that India has a contrast. You will see all the technology like here if you go to the cities, which is only 10 to 15% of India's population. The 85% lives in the villages, which is similar to Guatemala in many, many ways. So I was planning to go to Guatemala before COVID, but then COVID hit, and an organization in Minnesota, Friends of San Lucas, that's one of the states in Guatemala. They have been working there for the last 50 years. And they have similar programs, much bigger programs than we have in India, but prevention program is much smaller. So I went there to visit. This is where I was. These are the Guatemalans. Another picture, they built a bridge between the two. It was all hills and mountains and valleys all over. So they wanted to join this organization. They built this hanging bridge there to go from this end to that end. I visited a school that they are running. It's a Montessori school. They really welcomed me. I just was surprised. They had heard about me that I was going there, but apparently they did research the internet and could find what I had done in India. I was just flabbergasted. I didn't expect that. But this was their hospital staff, and they came in their Guatemala costumes that day to talk to me. So I went through that, and it's quite possible that I may start a project in Guatemala, a small project, but I would like to do it. You may say, hey, now you are toward the end of your life. What the heck are you doing? Well, I'm still healthy, thank goodness. And with your help and many young people's help, there are others younger than me who are helping. Hopefully we'll have something going in Guatemala too. So with that, I will end my talk, and we have a few minutes for questions and answers. I'll be happy to answer your questions. Yes, Becky.
I think you're remarkable in everything you do.
Thank you.
We've talked before, but I don't know if other people quite understand the culture in India about why they had such big families. And I wonder if you want to touch on that.
Okay.
Why the culture in India supports having big families. And you and I have talked about that before.
Yes.
I'm not sure if people understand all that.
Of course, that was cultural. There are two reasons. One is religion is very strong, very, very strong in India, all those countries, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. And religion says, hey, you don't use contraceptives, whatever God's will, that's what happens. And then they have no social security system. So their social security was their son, which now in the 21st century, the sons are not supporting their families anymore. For one, they have advanced, they go to the cities to work, leave their villages and so forth. So those were the two main reasons, religion and social security, that they wanted more and more children. Not necessarily if they had one son, they probably would stop. But for whatever reason, they had Now it's about 50-50, but they had more girls than sons. And then I'm sure you have heard of the dowry system. If you had a girl, the man had to work all his life to provide the dowry. So all these cultural things were simply forcing them to produce more and more children. And then once you say, hey, that's God's will, then no one questions you. No one can say, why are you? Well, I started preaching in the beginning, and that's part of the reason why I started a curative program, treating patients, because I said to myself, and it turned out to be true, I said to myself, if I started teaching them, asking them to do prevention and family planning, they'll say, here comes the big American. He doesn't even look American. I'm sorry, it may sound racial or discrimination, but I have lived most of my life in this country, but I'm not white. And for you, I'm the same, but over there, I'm not a white American. So they would say, here he comes teaching us how to do family planning. We have lived here for thousands of years. We know how to do family planning. Don't come up with these fancy words. They wouldn't understand at all. And therefore, I started with curative program where someone is sick, you treat them, they will bow up and down. They will be your friends forever because you treated. Prevention, what are you talking about? Prevent what? There is no prevention planning there. Even in the cities, they don't understand prevention. So sorry for the long answer, but that's what it was changing. Believe me, it's changing. As I said now, yes.
Really, it's a couple comments. Bull didn't say, and maybe many of you don't know, that he was raised 3 or 4 miles from where this clinic is. Abul was raised as a Muslim. He is treating primarily Hindus. So with all the conflict that we see going on, I mean, I think this is also something that what Abul is generating is this tremendous amounts of goodwill. But it's just so impressive when you go there and you see these things and see the dedication and look at it. And it's exactly the kind of thing that Rotary should be doing. Abul personifies service above self. He's dedicated his life to it. And now he's not only talking about India, but Guatemala and these others. And I mean, again, it just makes all of us, I think, pause and think about what each of us could do if we really applied the energy and passion that Abul has. So we're just, I
truly appreciate it. Thank you for the compliment. But I'm a believer in it. Yes, I was born a Muslim today. If you want to call me a Christian, that's fine with me. Hindu, whatever is fine. My motive and objective is simply this. Wherever there is a need, I have no business with the country or religion or what people, as long as there is a need. Of course, I can't provide it everywhere, but Guatemala, wherever, doesn't bother me what religion or what language they have. The need is there. I hope that's what I think you were trying to say too, and I hope that's what we all could do. That forget about other things. They are human beings. Wherever they are in need, we have to help them.
I just want to thank Abul. I've heard this talk before, but not all the updated statistics. And it's so much the epitome of Rotary, of what he's doing and how he's doing it. So we just thank you for being a part of our Bloomington Rotary Club and bringing this message to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.